Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In today's video, I'll be going over some newly announced BR changes. And these BR changes, they're not bad, but they are pretty indicative of the way things are about to be going in War Thunder. So I feel that they are actually fairly important, even though they're not exactly saying it. I feel that these are some pretty big BR changes. So first, please remember to subscribe. That means a lot. I go over everything, including guides, news, whatever, basically anything War Thunder related in some other games. But either way, let's just get into the video. First and foremost, the biggest changes, the most notable ones that people are kind of making a stink about, or not so much a stink, but they're kind of bringing notice to, are the air changes. So we now have the MiG-21, F-13, and PMF, or I thought it was the PFM, it's just listed as the PMF, in realistic and arcade both. Not that many people really care about arcade, but in realistic, it's dropping from 9.7 to 9.3. That's huge. So we're having a Mach 2 fighter with actually pretty capable or pretty decent capabilities dropping BR. Now with the PFM, you could argue that maybe it's because there's a lot of people who are purchasing it and thus the win rate is low because it's just people who don't know how to play top tier air. That's possible. Actually, how War Thunder creates a lot of its BR changes is through just an automated system where they look at win rates and whatever else. It's just part of an algorithm and they kind of adjust their BRs every now and again largely based on win rates. So that is possible. Interestingly, however, the F-13 is also included, which is a tech tree plane. This is not something that you can just purchase unless you're willing to spend that many golden eagles, spending that much free research on the tech tree to get to the F-13. That is a little bit indicative of something else. Even more telling is the fact that we're seeing the F-4E early drop from 9.0 to 8.7, the J-35D from 10.7 to 10.3, Q-5A from 10.3 to 10.0. Pretty much every single plane except for the CW-21 and which is a 2.0 to 2.3, which doesn't really matter at all, except for people who are just starting, or the F-104 or the F-104J, which we're seeing going from 10.3 to 10.7 or 10.0 to 10.3 if you play arcade. So those are the only two planes. You do have the AH-1Z that's going from 10.0 to 10.3, but that's a helicopter and really is only a concern for ground forces. So it has to be included because it is technically aviation, but it is still a ground forces vehicle essentially. But we have every single vehicle on this is seeing a BR decrease, and the vast majority of them are top tier planes or near top tier. We're talking right around 10.0, and I think that's pretty indicative of one thing, maybe two things. So first and foremost, as I mentioned before, their win rates just might not be that great. The T2 is included in here. There's not really a lot of Japanese planes at the top of the tech tree. Maybe it's just not been as good recently because there have been other top tier planes that have kind of outclassed it and thus made it lose more. I'm not entirely sure, but interestingly, this is timed just after we're getting news of the F5C, which should be about a 10.7, maybe a 10.3 BR premium. And that is huge because they do not just add 10.7 or just top tier premiums unless they're going to increase the top tier. So being that we are at top or tier 6 right now, I foresee that these BR changes are indicative of possibly War Thunder might be expanding to an 11.0 BR and using that 11.0 BR as a starting point for tier 7 planes. So they're dropping a lot of planes to be just out of that 11.0 BR bracket. That one, how most BRs are, they have a plus or minus 1 BR that you can kind of join into. A lot of these planes are just either getting out of it or are just kind of getting to the edge of it. And with the MiG-21 PFM and all that, they're basically taking them out of the 10.7 BR bracket, which could also be indicative that perhaps there's a few 10.7 tier 7s coming. So it's just difficult to say. Again, this is all speculation, but they are dropping a lot of BRs, and not just for the PFM, which is a player-bought vehicle at this point through the marketplace, but a lot of planes that you'd have to research through the tech tree. So theoretically speaking, you should know how to play top tier at that point. So this is pretty big, and I think indicative of a lot of things. Also, interestingly, we do have the Leopard 2PL dropping from 10.7 to 10.3. which I kind of find funny because I predicted that we'd see a BR decrease in this because so many people probably just purchase it, play it, die, and then leave as soon as they die. So that's probably almost all based on win rates. So I find that to be kind of funny. It's kind of what I predicted, that the BR would decrease. But we also see a lot of other decreases in ground forces, interestingly. The Ostwind, for example, is being decreased. But you have a lot of SPAA near the top tier, like the Falcon, Side M25, Flak Rad, whatever it's pronounced, the ASRAD, M247. They are all being increased in BR, which I kind of find interesting, but I feel like that's actually pretty well deserved, being that they are so dominant. But a lot of other vehicles are not. We do see the EBR going again. It has an increase in BR from 5.3 to 5.7 this time. The T114, which is a premium American tank that fires, if I'm not mistaken, recoilless rockets, from 6.7 to 7.0. So we are seeing a pretty mixed bag in terms of increases and decreases in BR for ground forces, which is fairly, again, interesting, but it's not all too crazy. We see the M10, which is going from 3.7 to 3.3. Not a huge deal, but it does fire a nasty cannon, which is kind of interesting to me that it's going down to, that much more. I don't really think it needs to, but it is what it is. But this is all concerning, or largely concerning, AA, these BR changes for ground forces, which to me indicates possibly we're getting some changes in air forces. Who knows? And finally, we have some fleet changes. Not many people care about those. They are, I guess, there's not really many concerning German ships, which is kind of weird because Germany is probably the most played class or nation outside of maybe Japan. But, we are seeing a lot of English planes, some Soviet English ships, some Soviet ships as well, and also some U.S. ships as well, just seeing BR changes. But again, being that they are ships, it's not really too much of a concern for most people. But either way, let me know what you guys think. I think that these BR changes are very telling, and they go a long way past just, it's dropping from 10.0 to 9.7. I think that these might be indicative, especially with recent announcements of two top tier premium jets, that we are going to be getting tier 7. So again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And either way, I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.